Have you ever just stopped and wondered, what is it that makes you, you? Why are some people the absolute life of the party while others would much rather just have a quiet night in? What's going on deep down that shapes our fears, our dreams, and all those little habits we have? Well, these are the exact questions at the very heart of psychology. And in this explainer, we're going to unpack the science of what makes you, you.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll lay out a basic blueprint for what personality even is. Then, we're going to dive deep into the hidden world of the unconscious mind. After that, we'll look at how our own actions and our beliefs about our potential can shape who we become. And finally, we'll pull it all together and see what modern science says about nature, nurture, and the world we live in right now.
All right, first things first. Before we can get into the why of who we are, we need a blueprint, right? We need some way to describe the basic building blocks that make us tick.
I mean, think about it. We use the word personality all the time. Like, oh, she has such a great personality, or he's a real character. But what does that word actually mean, from a psychological point of view? So here it is, the core definition. And the key word here is consistency. It's not about being good or bad. Personality is all about your unique and pretty stable patterns of thinking, feeling, and acting. It's kind of like the common thread that runs through your behavior across all kinds of different times and situations. And probably the most popular way to map all this out is with what's called the Big Five model. Just think of these as 5 huge dimensions of human personality. You've got openness, that's all about being curious and creative. Then there's conscientiousness, which is about being organized and self-disciplined. Extraversion is how outgoing or sociable you are. Agreeableness is how trusting and helpful you tend to be. And finally, neuroticism, which is the tendency to feel negative emotions like anxiety or self-doubt. As I'm listing these, just think about where you might fall on each of those scales.
Okay, so describing traits is one thing, that's great, but it doesn't really get to the why, does it? Why are you maybe more conscientious than your best friend? Why are they more extroverted than you? To answer that, we have to go deeper, way deeper, beneath the surface of just our day-to-day behavior.
And our first stop on this journey inward is the world of psychodynamic theory. This is the idea that the real drivers of our personality are actually hidden from us, buried deep inside our own minds. So the famous Sigmund Freud saw our personality as this constant, raging battle between 3 different forces. As you can see here, first you've got the id. This is your raw, primal instinct. It's basically your inner toddler screaming, I want it and I want it now. Then on the other side, you've got the superego. That's your inner moral compass, the voice that tells you what's right and wrong based on all the rules you've learned from society. And stuck right in the middle, that's the ego. It's the practical decision maker, just trying its best to make the id happy without getting in trouble with the real world, or your superego. Now, according to Freud, all of this internal conflict creates a ton of anxiety. So to protect itself, the ego develops these little bodyguards, unconscious tricks it uses to shield us from feeling totally overwhelmed. We call these defense mechanisms. The most fundamental defense mechanism is something called repression. This is when your mind takes a really painful memory or a thought it doesn't like, and it just pushes it down, shoves it deep into your unconscious so you don't have to think about it. It's like out of sight, out of mind, or at least that's what the ego is hoping for. Then we have projection. Oh, this one is a classic. Instead of admitting you have some uncomfortable feeling, you just pin it on someone else. And the example here is perfect. You're the one who's feeling angry, but you turn to someone and say, wow, why are you being so aggressive right now? It's a clever, unconscious way to disown that feeling. And I'm willing to bet we've all seen displacement happen. You have a terrible day at work, your boss yells at you, but you can't yell back, right? So you go home and you end up snapping at your partner or the dog. What you're doing is taking that anger from its real source and diverting it onto a safer substitute target. Honestly, just recognizing these patterns in ourselves can be a really powerful thing. But hey, Freud wasn't the only one with these big ideas. His contemporary, Carl Jung, he believed that we all tap into this collective unconscious, like a shared pool of ancient memories and symbols he called archetypes. And then there was Alfred Adler, who had a totally different spin. He argued our main motivation in life is this drive for superiority, not to boss people around, but to overcome our own feelings of being less than and just become better versions of ourselves. Okay, let's switch gears completely. We're going to come up for air from that deep, hidden, internal world and shift our focus to things we can actually see, our actions, what we believe about ourselves, and our built-in potential for growth.
So this brings us to a huge debate. Are you basically the same person no matter where you are, or does the situation you're in totally change how you act? A psychologist named Walter Mischel argued that the situation often has way more power than we think. You might be the loudest person at a party, but then be super shy and quiet in a work meeting. He argued that the context can actually be a better predictor of your behavior than any fixed personality trait you might have.
Now, another psychologist, Bandura, said that one of the most powerful forces that shapes what we do is our own belief in ourselves. He called this self-efficacy. And get this, it's not about how skilled you actually are, it's about how confident you are that you can use your skills to get something done. If you truly believe you can do it, you're just so much more likely to try, to keep going when things get tough, and in the end, to actually succeed.
This whole idea of striving for more leads us right to the humanistic perspective, which was really championed by Abraham Maslow. Humanists had a much more optimistic take on things. They believed that, deep down, we all have this fundamental drive to grow and become our best selves. This powerful need to fulfill our potential is what Maslow called self-actualization.
Okay, for our last section, let's bring it all into the present day. We're going to look at how modern research weaves together biology, culture, and specific traits to give us a more complete picture of personality.
Well, there's a ton of evidence that our genes play a massive role. Hans Eysenck argued that our personality is literally built on a biological foundation we inherit from our parents. And evolutionary psychologists take that idea even one step further. They suggest that those big 5 traits we talked about earlier, they might be universal because they helped our ancient ancestors solve really important problems related to survival and, finding a mate.
So how do psychologists actually apply all these ideas today? Let's zoom in and look at one specific trait you have definitely heard about, narcissism. And it's way more than just being vain. It's a really complex trait that's marked by this inflated sense of self-importance and a desperate need for admiration.
But here's what's so fascinating. Modern research shows it's not just one thing. As you can see, there are 2 main faces. You have the grandiose narcissist, that's the classic, arrogant, look at me, aggressive type. But then you also have the vulnerable narcissist. This type is actually more introverted and neurotic, and they're hiding these deep-seated feelings of inferiority behind a mask of self-importance.
Understanding a trait like this also leads to some pretty practical advice. If you find yourself having to deal with a narcissistic person, the research suggests the most important thing is to protect your own well-being. And that means creating really firm boundaries, speaking up for your own needs, being careful with your words so you don't make things worse, and, this is the hard one, trying to stay calm and not get sucked into their drama.
And finally, we absolutely cannot forget about culture. I mean, none of us develops in a vacuum. Bronfenbrenner's model here shows how our personality is shaped by all these different layers of influence, almost like Russian nesting dolls. It starts with your immediate family and friends, that's the microsystem, but it goes all the way out to the macrosystem, the big cultural values, laws, and customs of the society you live in. All of these layers are constantly interacting to shape who you are.
So wow, we've looked at personality as a set of traits, as a hidden battle inside our minds, as something shaped by our beliefs and situations, and as a product of our genes and our culture. The big question I want to leave you with is this. With all these different lenses to look through, which one, or maybe what combination of them, do you think best explains the person you see in the mirror every day?